Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the awe-inspiring, complex biological journey that is happening inside your body right this very second. We often completely take it for granted, but the highly efficient way our bodies take just regular food and air and transform them into usable energy, it's honestly a fascinating process. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a quick thought experiment. I want you to just close your eyes for a second and imagine eating your absolute favorite food. Maybe it's a hot, cheesy slice of pizza or a perfectly baked, warm piece of bread. Does your mouth feel a little watery? Well, that watery feeling isn't just you being excited. It is actually your brain flipping the switch on a massive, highly efficient biological factory line, prepping for the arrival of all those nutrients.
All right, Section 1, the starting line, the mouth and the throat.
So, digestion is actually a dual process. First up, your teeth initiate mechanical digestion, acting as the crushers to physically grind down your meal. But here's the cool part. As you chew, that watery saliva we just talked about is simultaneously kicking off a brilliant chemical chain reaction.
There's this classic iodine experiment that perfectly illustrates this chemical reaction. See, iodine turns a deep blue-black when it comes into contact with starch, which happens immediately if you test plain boiled rice. But if you test chewed rice, it barely changes color at all. And why is that? Because the enzymes in your saliva have already actively broken down those complex starches into sweet, simple sugars before you even swallow. It's literally the reason starchy foods start to taste kind of sweet if you chew them long enough.
Right. So once you finally swallow, your tongue pushes that softened food into a flexible tube called the esophagus. And no, your food doesn't just fall down into your stomach thanks to gravity. The muscular walls of that tube contract and relax in this automatic, wave-like motion that forcefully pushes the food downward. It's an incredible muscular wave that continues all the way through your entire digestive system.
Moving right along to Section 2, down the hatch, the stomach.
Okay, the medical history behind how we actually understand stomach digestion is absolutely wild. Back in 1822, this man named Alexis St. Martin survived a terrible gunshot wound. Miraculously, he lived, but the wound left a small, permanent hole, a literal window, right into his stomach. His doctor, William Beaumont, used this opening to safely observe digestion happening in real time. He actually watched the stomach walls aggressively churn the food, mixing it with powerful acids and protective mucus, literally turning a meal into a highly digestible paste. Honestly, it's mind-blowing.
Which brings us to Section 3, the nutrient highway, the intestines.
Now prepare to be amazed by this number. 6 meters. The small intestine is roughly 6 meters long. To put that into perspective for you, that is almost twice the height of a standard classroom ceiling, completely coiled up and neatly packed securely inside your abdomen. It's just an incredible feat of biological packaging. And inside this massive 6-meter tube is where the core nutrient extraction really happens. The liver jumps in as a helper organ, dropping in mildly basic bile to neutralize all that harsh stomach acid and to break apart stubborn fats. The pancreas adds in even more digestive juices. But the real stars of the show? The villi. These are thousands of microscopic finger-like projections lining the walls. They act exactly like tiny sponges, drastically increasing the surface area to grab all those good, broken-down nutrients and pull them straight across the barrier into your bloodstream. Because those little villi are doing such heavy lifting, it is absolutely vital to keep this intestinal lining healthy. Take celiac disease, for example. People with this condition experience an immune reaction to gluten, which is a protein found in wheat, and it actually damages those delicate absorbing walls. For them, turning to ancient naturally gluten-free alternatives like millets, things like jawar, bajra, and ragi, isn't just some passing diet trend, it's an essential way to protect their nutrient highway and keep their body fueled.
Now, as we transition into the large intestine, the physical contrast is pretty stark. It's actually way shorter, coming in at only 1.5 meters long. It really only earns the name large because it's a much wider tube than the small intestine. Its main job isn't grabbing nutrients anymore. Rather, it's there to soak up the remaining water and manage whatever is left over.
And what is left over? Well, it becomes a total feast. The large intestine is essentially a bustling microscopic city. Down there, billions of helpful bacteria are feasting on leftover, undigested fiber to produce essential nutrients that keep our immune system strong. This is exactly why eating fiber-rich and fermented foods, stuff like curd, buttermilk, and certain pickles, keeps your gut thriving.
Amazingly, this isn't exactly breaking news. This wisdom was actually recorded centuries ago in ancient Ayurvedic texts like the Charaka Samhita, which championed easily digestible foods and spices way before we even had microscopes to even see the bacteria.
All right, Section 4, Digestion in Other Animals, Evolution's Dietary Adaptations.
Check this out. Astonishingly, a grass-eating cow spends about 8 entire hours a day just chewing its food. No way, right?
Well, there's a good reason for it. Grass is incredibly tough to break down, so cows, operating as ruminants, swallow it partially digested, regurgitate it as cud to chew all over again, and then pass it through this incredibly complex, multi-chambered stomach. Birds, on the other hand, they don't even have teeth. They swallow their food whole and rely on a specialized muscular pouch called a gizzard. Often, they fill this gizzard with swallowed stones that act as internal teeth to physically grind up their dinner as the pouch contracts. I mean, it's just brilliant biological engineering.
And that leads us to our grand finale. Section 5, the final spark, respiration.
Because here is the real secret. Having all those beautifully digested sugars just floating around in your bloodstream is entirely useless without a spark to ignite them. Which brings us to respiration. Respiration isn't just about breathing in and out. It is the absolutely crucial, microscopic cellular process that takes those exact nutrients you just digested and converts them into usable, vital energy. To create that spark, we need oxygen, and it follows its own highly efficient pathway. It enters the nostrils, moves past that dust-trapping mucus in your nasal passages, and travels straight down the windpipe into the lungs. The final destination? The alveoli. These are millions of tiny, microscopic, balloon-like sacs where the oxygen passes directly into the blood to finally meet up with your nutrients.
It is truly amazing to think about, isn't it? You've got these two completely separate, highly complex factory lines. The digestive system is pulling nutrients from your sandwich, while the respiratory system is pulling invisible oxygen out of the air. And they literally collide inside your microscopic cells every single second of every single day to fuel your entire existence. The ultimate output of this brilliant biology is, well, you. Leaving us to wonder, with all those systems working perfectly together to generate your power, what incredible things are you going to do with all that energy today?